Hello. Now that we're on to phase two of the literature review, this is a good time to start to talk about the next phase of your research paper. So by this point, you'll have gotten feedback on your phase one paper or your proposal phase one, same thing. And so the literature review or phase two is meant to be the continuation. So you're going to be adding a new 3 to 4 pages to your paper, still written in APA format, and it's always 3 to 4 pages of content. So when you add that to the 3 to 4 pages that you wrote for your proposal, then what you're up to by this point is a 6 to 8 page paper of content alone. The title page and the reference page are separate. Those are in addition to. So the literature review section is where you're going to be doing all of your scholarly research. And so this section is very academic in nature, and we're really looking at what the professional scholars have to say on the problem. And so what you're going to be doing is starting out each section by really looking deeply at the discipline. So for example, you might even want to use some headings. So you can start out, I'm going to use the disciplines of psychology and biology as my examples for this video. So if your first discipline is psychology, what I want you to do is start out with a section on psychology, and you can even use a header that just says psychology. Below that, I want you to use the information that you've learned from the charts in Chapter 4 that are explaining the disciplines. In there, they discuss the epistemology of the discipline, the overall perspective, research methods, assumptions, theories. Those are all pieces that you can include when you're fully explaining the discipline, because our reader needs to know the background of the discipline before they're going to look at what the experts say about your social issue. So spend some time really looking at those charts in Chapter 4 and formulating a good description of the discipline. Immediately following that, you want to include the information that you learned from your 3 scholarly sources written by psychologists. Again, I'm using psychology as an example right now. But the discipline that you just described, you want to include information that you learned from those 3 sources. Remember, those need to be peer-reviewed scholarly articles. And so you can find those through our Kresge library system, and make sure that you're looking for the scholarly articles. If you need help with that, make sure that you see one of our research librarians. They will do an excellent job helping you with that. Once you're done with that, then you want to move on to your second discipline. So in my example, I'm using the second discipline example of biology. Then I can include a heading for biology, and then again include my good explanation of the biology discipline, all the information that I learned from the charts in Chapter 4, talking about the epistemology, the overall perspective, research methods, assumptions, theories, everything that pertains to your specific paper. And then immediately following that, you want to include information that you learned from your 3 scholarly articles written by biologists. And so what we've got at this point is 2 sets of information. We have information about your issue, the topic that you've been talking about from the beginning, from the psychology perspective, and then we also have a group of research from the biology perspective. And so you're searching for the same keywords, you're looking at the same exact issue from both perspectives, and then what we really want to see here is how the 2 sets of research are the same or how are they different. That's what you're going to do next. So once you've got all the information from the scholarly articles, you're going to be identifying the conflicts and commonalities that you notice between the 2 sets of research. So what were they saying that was the same? What were they saying that was different? That's what you, as the interdisciplinarian, I want you to start to point that out and see what those differences are. As we're looking at conflicts and commonalities and looking ahead at creating common ground, you can start to really look at chapters 10 through 12 to review that information and to help you with that piece as far as supporting what you're saying and using the textbook as a reference here too. So once you've identified the conflicts and commonalities, then you can end this section of the paper by simply explaining what common ground theory is. So again, you're going to look at your textbook for that and just explain what is this theory of common ground. Save getting into detail about it and actually delving into some of the strategies for phase 3. So at this point, I want you to just explain what common ground theory is and where we're going with this. This is going to serve as the perfect transition into phase 3, where in phase 3, you'll start off by actually applying one of Repco's techniques for creating common ground. So at this point, just as a review, you're going to be giving an overview of each discipline. You're going to be covering the information that you learn from the scholarly articles written by each discipline. Then you will discuss the conflicts and commonalities that you notice between the two, and then just introduce the theory of common ground and explain what common ground theory is. So this section of the paper requires the most amount of time. It's the most academic piece, and needs to be very professionally written. So hopefully at this point you are perfecting your APA format skills. Make sure that you're looking back at your APA style book or the OWL Purdue website, or even the PowerPoint that I included in the Moodle page. After this point, we'll be moving on to phase 3, which is where you will get to talk about your ideas for a solution to the problem. So up through this point in the paper, you're really reporting out what other people have written on this subject. So you're not really talking about your own ideas or your own opinions. That's all going to come later in phase 3. So phases 1 and 2 is really reporting out what the experts have said. This way, it gives you a really nice, good, solid foundation in that everything that you're saying is backed up by experts. So I'm looking forward to seeing this section of your paper, and I know that you're all going to do a great job with this part. I will talk to you soon.